Well, so far we haven't gotten much accomplished here. We tried heating up this belt pulley with the big weed burner a couple different times here now, and it just doesn't want to move. We think we're just going to come up with a bigger, better puller system and try another day. Because the big thing is not to be in a hurry and not break it. But it's hot. We were throwing the heat at it a lot more than it should have came. If it was going to come, it should have came. So. But yeah, we got Buddy here today. We got Mitchell here and his family. This is the guy I bought the tractors from. So he's the one that saved these. So I figured it'd be a good opportunity to have him tell you a little bit more about what he knows about the history of these tractors, because he knows more than I do.
This tractor here came from south of Luster, Montana. There was an auction up there with a 29 on it. 29 2035 I went up there to buy. Bought it, and in the scrap iron pile, this tractor and a parted out 28 Allis was there. So I didn't know anything about these at the time. Bought it, cut it out of the tree that was growing up on that farm, and hauled it home and tried to find parts for it, because it was the engine valve cover and everything was loose on the engine when we got it. The only thing I couldn't really find was the parts for this tractor. We found all the parts for the 28 that was parted out sitting next to it. But this tractor, you just couldn't find anything for it.
Sure.
We found the mag on one of the trailers on that sale, so we bought the mag for it, but no other parts for it were had. Just kind of brought it home, put it in the line, and started getting parts made for it, and ran across another one straight north of Luster on the Canadian side.
Right.
And that's the other tractor.
That's the one that's out in the yard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brought it home, took the engine out, and when we pulled the pan off, it was full of dirt all the way up through the midline of the crank. And it was in quite tough shape, and started getting more parts made, and then just kind of lost some interest on it, and enter you.
And then I've been bothering him for years to sell me these. I just wanted him to sell me one of them, right? So I could fix one of them. Because literally, yeah, I've been probably bugging you about these for probably 10 years, more than that. Probably, well, because we kind of met when I moved out to North Dakota.
Yep.
And that would have been, whatever, 13 years ago or so now?
Yeah, you were on the Allis forum looking at a short fender that was up here in Northgate.
That's
sale.
Right. I kind of forgot about that, yeah.
And
there was one on an auction up there.
I bought a John Deere and an Oliver Crawler on that sale up there in Northgate.
The Clee-Track?
Yeah, the Clee-Track. Yeah. Clee-Track and a styled D John Deere that was in an airplane hangar that fell down on it up there. And then I had I had that part about 28 that we used to fix up our 29, and you got a bunch of parts.
I got a couple of parts off of that for my 27, yeah.
The hood, and I don't remember.
A few other little miscellaneous pieces, yeah.
Push rods and bolts and screws.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't remember what else.
But yeah, I know, like I said, when I first moved out here, we kind of connected that way, and then I think Dad was out on a visit, and we both came out and visited you at the farm, and kind of seen all the cool stuff that Mitchell had, and
you guys drove my little speed patrol around.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
A bunch of other stuff like that.
And that's when I seen these, and it's like, yeah, someday you got to sell me one of them.
Well, the plan was always to fix one and to sell the other one.
Sure.
And when I was getting parts made, I was getting 2 or 3 sets of parts made, like the timing gears, lifters, things like that we had made. I had rocker arms made. I had other stuff getting gathered up for it, and I guess my taste kind of changed, and we bought a bunch of different other tractors too, so these were just sitting there, and I just
The timing was finally right. He finally decided to sell me them. And then he surprised me. He said, yeah, I'll sell them both to you. Oh, okay.
I want the pair. I don't want to split them up.
You got yourself a deal.
You come down, you were just, look at them. Well, there they are. This one had sat there long enough. It was getting another tree growing
Right,
up to it.
yeah.
So I was like, I got to do something.
Time to do something. And then, yeah, like I've said, hopefully I'm going to try to fix both of them. You know, eventually. You know, we'll start with one and go from there. But
There were pieces slowly gathering and finding
Sure.
and coordinating stuff. But there's just not a lot of stuff
no.
out there. Occasionally you'll find a piece here or there, and that's all it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's like I found a radiator for the one that was missing that is on a completely different piece of equipment that, you know, just lucked out and ran into that.
You got to get that one of these days,
Yep.
too.
That came with the, just change it out with another radiator.
Yeah.
I haven't found another radiator to put up on there yet. But, yeah, it's kind of odd. I have a 26 long fender that was that way too. We found on a farm. It had been scavenged, and we found the radiator on an old Rumley combine. They had
Sure.
2 radiators to this combine to keep it cool out in Montana. There the Allis radiator was. So this stuff got scavenged pretty hard for many years. It was just parts.
Oh, yeah, they just used what they had. Yeah.
But it was from a fairly dry climate. It wasn't terribly rusty. The wheels weren't bad.
No.
You know, I'm surprised the engine was as bad as it was, but it had sat apart forever.
Sure.
That was.
Well, even these ones, you know, even if the, you know, valve covers and stuff would have been left on them,
Yeah.
they probably would have been in a lot better shape.
But that aluminum valve cover, everybody seemed to rob that.
Yeah.
But, you know, these things they were almost obsolete when they were new because Midwest was out of business when
Right.
they were selling these. So as soon as you needed parts for them, they were done.
Yeah, I suspect that's why so many of them, you know, were put out to pasture because lack of parts.
Was that the same auction? Was that the one with Kruger?
Yep. Yeah, Kruger's the guy who bid us up on the 29. Yeah. And then we bought a bunch of parts on a sale in Minnesota. He was another guy that had wanted to buy these from me for quite a while, and then he passed away and his stuff came up for sale, so
Right.
we bought. That's where the extra engines
Those
and
parts engines,
Yeah.
yeah.
all that stuff came from.
And then those other ones went to another collector and he's putting them back together.
Yep.
So all the parts actually did kind of go to good homes or
Yeah,
they're going to be
it's-
used.
It's just hard because you need, and those had all been parts tractors prior when he
Right.
bought them.
So you're trying to put together a good tractor from other parts
Yeah.
tractors, which that's what I do here.
I mean, there
if-
was 3 tractors there
Kind of
that
a
had
big
been
group
parted out.
effort.
That had been parted out to make one, and you know, so there wasn't enough. You know, really. I guess now there's enough. You know, when you build enough parts to put one back together.
Yeah. Well, it's like my long fenders. I got 3 incomplete long fenders. Yeah, I still don't have enough of parts to put together one complete one between the 3. They're all missing stuff.
Something.
Some days it's challenging to build a tractor out of the parts.
It is, but yeah, I like the challenge. It's the parts hunt too. You meet a lot of good people along the way.
And the long fenders, there's a few parts. Short fenders, there's a lot of parts.
Yeah,
These are
these are non-existent
almost no
basically.
parts. I
Yeah.
think at the time, like Norm, I think knew of 17, 19 of them that were
Sure.
out there.
I got a suspicion there's probably a few more than that,
There is,
but there's probably maybe 25 of them or something
Yeah.
out there. There's very few of them in the big picture.
yeah. And I think the majority of that comes down to that Midwest engine. You know,
Yeah,
as soon as they needed parts, they got pushed in the fence row, and then they went for scrap after
Sure.
during the war because they just
Got no engine, it ain't no good.
you couldn't get parts for it then.
Yeah,
You couldn't get parts for it in the 30s. You know,
right.
90 years later, you're still looking for parts.
Yeah, I suppose. I just figured it'd be nice to get a little bit of the backstory of where they came from, and at least I find that part of the tractor collecting interesting, kind of knowing where the tractors came from. And
The guy who had the sale in Leicester, he was in his 90s.
Yeah.
He remembered them as, as a kid. The 29, he farmed with that, and that was in a shed. The engine was stuck on it, but he put it in a building. There it's at.
so there's a good chance these were new to that
I'm sure
farm.
they were new to that farm.
Sure. Can't prove it, but there's a pretty good chance that, yeah. Which is kind of neat to find basically a one family tractor anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very much.
Yeah, they had sold the farm and they were moving to Billings. At that time, it was a huge sale, and we bought a Nelson Brothers stationary engine and just everything for 100 years of farm equipment was kind of pushed over the edge of a ravine. And this was right up on top of the ravine where there were some trees and scrub, and that's where this was.
Okay.
And right next to it was a 28 with the rear end apart. It had nice extensions and it would have been a really neat tractor. And then that 29 was sitting in the shed. The drawbar was wore out. The front axle was wore out. The bottom of the front axle is just stubble sawn. I mean, they did a lot of work with those tractors.
Oh yeah.
But that's the 29 we have fixed up at home there. And the 28's given lots and lots of parts to your tractor and mine.
Absolutely.
There's not much left of it now.
No, it's kind of just the carcass.
Yeah. It had good wheels and full gears and just a lot of parts that were, I think they had kind of been in the process of maybe rebuilding it when they give up on it.
Sure.
I wish I could have found the rest of the stuff for this, but 10 minutes after the sale, I bought the tractor and the parts for the tractors. When they did the sale, the auctioneer come up to the coolie and, what do you want? I said, I want the tractors and parts. Yep, okay, bought that. Wasn't 5 minutes later, the scrap guy was out there with the skid steer just dozing everything up in the pile. So it was me and my wife and my mother-in-law, and we were all scrambling around through this scrap iron pile trying to find this. And they were pulling the fenders for the 28 up and, the front wheel. I mean, it was just, there was parts laying all over through there, and we're trying to find this stuff. And
sure.
He was just dozing it all up in piles, loading it into dump trucks. So if it was there, it got scrapped.
It's long gone now, yeah.
Was that the sale with the radiator?
No, that was a different sale. I bought a 3060 Altman Taylor radiator. They had scrapped on Altman Taylor. About the same thing. It was on a hillside in Montana. I bought that, and the scrap guy was dozing stuff up there too.
Yeah, it's a shame.
They had the centers out of the wheels, and
sure.
Goss out in Montana, I ended up buying most of that stuff from the scrap guy there that day. So again, a lot of that parts got saved by somebody who knew what was there, but there was lightweight Rumley side frames and just a lot of other parts that were there that had been scrapped.
Well, that's all you could do is try to save what you can, and
wasn't really expecting that day to go there to buy scrap iron off a hillside, but we were there. Bought a couple of Wagner four-wheel drive tractors on that sale. And then was surprised to see Altman Taylor parts and Rumley parts.
You just never know what you're going to find.
Nope.
Yeah.
that's pretty much the history on these tractors that we know of.
Sure.
The one that came from Canada was, they were going to build a new grain bin site, and they were cleaning up some trees, and everything there was going for scrap, and the guy threw everything up for sale. If it didn't sell that day, it was going for scrap. I got up there, they had it with a big excavator, they had it hanging there, and dropped it on the trailer. Guy was happy as can be to get some beer money.
Yeah. Well, that one, I don't know if it's still around or not, but at least there was a picture on the trailer when you guys hauled that home. I think Matt had posted on the Allis forum or whatever.
Could have been.
That's so long ago. I don't know if that picture's around anymore, but
Yeah, I had that picture. It's
We'll
all
have to-
covered in ice because
yeah, it was all wet
it
and
was
yeah,
snowing, raining, slushy. It was can you be here in 2 hours and get it?
right.
They were dozing everything up kind of at that point too. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. I grabbed cash and hooked up the car trailer to the pickup and left.
Yeah,
And got up there and they had it hanging from a big excavator and just set it right on the trailer. That was it.
loading was easy at least. Yeah.
Well, yes, and that was still when you could get through the border. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
What are you doing? We're going to get a tractor.
Okay.
What? Like I gotta be there in a certain amount of time. Okay, whatever. We'll be back in an hour. The guy looks at it on the tractor and goes, or on the trailer and goes, okay.
If that's the kind of junk you want to haul home, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that several
We've
times.
gotten that a few times.
Bought a lot of stuff
Okay.
in Canada over the years.
Don't know what you're doing with that.
Why do you want
They
that?
look at
Yeah.
us like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Or when they asked us if we had registration for it.
Yep. Bought a D17 Wheatland, and we fought, I don't know how many tractors across the border, and never had a problem. When we get there, and I got this D17 Wheatland on the trailer, and the guy just starts yelling at us that we didn't send the registration down 3 days in advance. And I'm like, there's no
It's a
registration.
tractor.
He's
There is
He's like,
none.
well, you're gonna license it, aren't you? I said, it's a farm tractor. And he just shut up and, okay, let's go. Okay. Yeah. But now, we used to watch a lot of the classifieds up in Canada, and now we still go up there, but it's a lot harder.
Oh yeah. Yeah, hopefully someday that'll all get back to kind of what it was, but yeah, we can run up that picture. I'll put a picture of that in here.
Yep.
But yeah, that,
Yeah, I think I got a picture of me unloading it with one of our backhoes at the shop in town there where we loaded
Okay.
that one. But I was surprised on that tractor when we went out there that the front wheel was still laying there
yeah,
in
that's
the grass next to it, because it was
Good.
like, is the front wheel here? He's like, I don't know. We went out and dug around, but there the front wheel was. Front wheel and the hood. The hood wasn't on that tractor either, but it was
sure.
laying there. I didn't have a hood for this one, so I was happy to get a pattern.
Sure, yeah.
That's about it on that.
I suppose, yeah. We'll see what else we can figure out here. All right, see you guys later.